So one thing that might be happening with you with your like your aim and stuff like that is I don't think it's necessarily your sensitivity or your aim. I think it might be the way that you're gripping your mouse, because like you're very shaky in the way that you move, but it doesn't look like your mouse sensitivity is too high. It just looks like you don't have a proper grip and kind of you don't have control over it. So I would suggest maybe playing around with your mouse grip a little bit, because your mouse grip, you know, it plays a large factor in how well you aim and stuff, because a lot of players might be gripping their mouse one way, but actually, you know, for a natural feeling with their mouse in their hand, they should maybe grip it a different way, which might be limiting their potential with their aim and stuff. So what is going on, guys? A21 Mayo here, and in today's video we are going to be having ourselves another viewer VOD review video. So kind of before we jump into the VOD, let's go over what the viewer said in his form submission. So the first couple sentences, he says that he used to play a lot of casual with his friends. He decided to play ranked. He got placed bronze 3, and in the same season he got to gold 3. So that's a pretty significant jump there already. And then he goes on to say that he tried to play a little bit more ranked. He primarily 3-stacked, and his goal was to get gold 1, which he eventually got, and then now his goal is to get plat 3. So I know that's a huge milestone and kind of goal for a lot of players that have never achieved that platinum rank. You know, when you get to plat 3, you think you make it and all that. And don't get me wrong, you know, setting goals and stuff like that is extremely important for you as a player, but don't get so caught up in the motions of trying to do everything in your power to get that rank, just because you think that you have a symbol or whatever it is that it makes you a better player. So don't get too caught up in the actual grind and stuff like that of the rank. Focus much more about yourself and, you know, you as a player, and you will improve and rank up. And then he goes on to say, with this paragraph, he kind of finishes off with, you know, the basic stuff like how to win 1v1 clutch situations, how to just win 1v1s in general, when he should play passive or more aggressive, and also his situational awareness and utility placement. So pretty basic stuff that a lot of players do ask for and kind of look for when I do give them VOD reviews, whether it's a coaching session or a kind of a free VOD review, so to speak, like this one here. So I'm sure I can most definitely touch on those topics if I ever do see a situation that I can use to kind of explain. But now that we've kind of reviewed his VOD form, let's, you know, jump into the actual VOD now.
Hey Mayo, how's it going? I'll be talking like this once in a while. Hope it doesn't sound weird as if I'm talking to myself. But anyways, as you can see, I'm playing on Coastline. And usually I like to have a strat when I go into a match. Like for example, on Oregon, a third defending upstairs, I just go play Zofia and spawn construction and get rid of the bandits or K-Claws from below and go for an attic take. However, on Coastline, I don't have any strat. I just go spawn ruins, take office control, and from that, whatever happens, happens. So yeah, for now, I'm just gonna play this one out.
We need to locate a bomb.
So when it comes to doing something that you do a lot during a round, you can't really consider that a strat. What a strat is something that the entire team has an agreement on where they should be playing, what map control they should be holding, where they should be kind of using their utility if they need to burn. Just an overall agreement of kind of the take. If the enemies do this, we do that. If we do this, the enemies might do that, right? Like, it's just an overall agreement that the team understands where they should be during the round, throughout the round, especially on attack. And more on defense, you know, people have specific reinforcements where they should put their utility, all that good stuff. So you as an individual doing something a lot isn't considered a strat. It's much more you just doing something because you're comfortable with it, because you know what you need to do, because you've done it so many times. So you have that comfortability factor of, you know, if the enemies do this, I do that. So it's not necessarily a strat. It's more or less just something that you do. Before we carry on with the video, I quickly want to mention that 50% of you guys are unsubscribed. So if you guys have not hit that sub button already, I would really appreciate it. It also helps out with the YouTube algorithm. I also want to mention that I can coach you. So if you guys want a private coaching session or a private VOD review session, there's a link to my Patreon down below in the description. And yes, I do coach console players. And lastly, I also want to mention that I have a second channel. What you can find here is exclusive content like private coaching sessions. You can also find tier lists and any other content that is from my Twitch live stream. A link to that is also in the description.
Kitchen, alibi.
So one thing that you kind of said in your VOD review is that, you know, you stopped playing, or sorry, your VOD form is that you stopped playing with the people that you usually played with. if you're going to be solo queuing a lot, or just you play by yourself and you don't really understand how to coordinate with your team, if you're going to be droning yourself in quite a bit, you need to understand how to take map control by yourself. So like a huge thing when it comes to doing something like that is droning room by room, and taking section by section. So what you could do here, so you had your drone pre-placed in office, right? You could then drive that drone into blue bar, make sure that blue bar is clear, get off of that drone, leave it in an area where, you know, it might be shot if someone walks into blue bar. Just make it visible so that way if an enemy does walk into blue bar and they shoot your drone, you know that someone is in blue bar because you have a second drone on person. So you leave that drone in blue bar, kind of out in the open, and then you throw your other drone, you drone office, because someone very easily could walk from lobby into security and then walk into office. So then you throw down your second drone, you drone it through office, you check security hallway, and then you take office control, because now you know that blue bar is clear and you know that office is clear just because of redroning office. So you don't want to drone too far ahead to the point where if you can't have the ability to react off of the info on the drone, then the drone is pretty much voided useless, because especially on attack, if you can't react off of info and take the map control off of the drone, there's really no point in droning that area of the map unless it's like for a nitro cell or, you know, for a piece of utility and then the drone gets shot. But in the initial steps of, you know, taking map control and attacking, you need to be taking advantage of every single piece of map control you can have for your push, because that's what you need. You need that foundation for your attack to then propel yourself off of as a team into the bomb site, and, you know, just have this basic foundation of map control and everything like that, so that way you don't slip up some way and then, you know, you get flanked, or you don't drone a room right next to another room and then, you know, someone's ratting in a room and then they just kill like two teammates. Like, there's a lot of different possibilities, but your main focus when you're solo pushing like this or trying to take map control is you need to be reacting off of your drones after you drone, or else if your drone gets shot, then it's pretty much useless. Like, you have to re-drone all of that just to take that map control that should have already been taken.
Smoke is low.
You've dropped the diffuser.
There before.
Op 4 last. Op 4 neutralized. Mission successful.
So one thing that might be happening with you with your like your aim and stuff like that is, I don't think it's necessarily your sensitivity or your aim. I think it might be the way that you're gripping your mouse, because like you're very shaky in the way that you move, but it doesn't look like your mouse sensitivity is too high. It just looks like you don't have a proper grip and kind of you don't have control over it. So I would suggest maybe playing around with your mouse grip a little bit, because your mouse grip, you know, it plays a large factor in how well you aim and stuff, because a lot of players might be gripping their mouse one way, but actually, you know, for a natural feeling with their mouse in their hand, they should maybe grip it a different way, which might be limiting their potential with their aim and stuff. So mouse grip is an extremely overlooked and also important piece of kind of comfortability when it comes to physicality. Like the way you sit, where you position your arm, you know, where your monitor is, the way you grip your mouse, the way your keyboard is, like all that stuff adds up. And when you're not comfortable at a base rate, then it's gonna, you know, mess with some things along the way whenever you're playing. So I would suggest to you to maybe change your mouse grip a little bit, try to play around with it. Just do whatever feels natural. You should never feel the need to grip a mouse a certain way because, you know, a player that you like, you know, grips their mouse a certain way or whatever. Like, you should never try to emulate or copy a different player when it comes to settings or sensitivity or, you know, the way that they play or how they grip their mouse, whatever it is, you should do just whatever feels right. So I might be wrong on this, but I want to say that, you know, a portion of why you feel like you can't really aim that well, or you feel like your sensitivity is wrong or whatever, it might be because of the fact that you might be gripping your mouse in a way that maybe isn't natural for you. But like to evaluate what just happened there that last round, you heard someone drop courtyard, you held the angle, and then you heard the air jab behind you in security, and then you killed the flanker. Like, your situational awareness, at least from that round, seems pretty solid. Like, you heard the audio cues, you played your angles, and, you know, you got a 3K that round from the smoke, Ella, and the vigil, you know? So, like, your situational awareness isn't horrible. It's pretty decent. Especially, like, for what you're saying about yourself. So, I see this a lot with players where they're just too hard on themselves. Like, they don't give themselves enough credit. And it's very important that you give yourself credit to you and also other players whenever it's due. Because if you don't, then it's just going to make you feel like you're never good enough, or you'll never be good enough. And that's a huge thing that, you know, is more on the mentality side of the game, but you need to kind of give yourself some wiggle room or leeway when it comes to something like that. And you shouldn't always be hard on yourself that way, just because it'll lead you to never actually learning, because you might be focusing on the wrong thing when in all reality, you know, that thing that you're so focused on is already pretty solid, and you should be focusing on other skill sets in the game. So I would say give yourself where credit is due. You know, that round might be a doozy. Last round might have been. I mean, you know, you heard 3 different audio cues and you got 2 kills out of it. So situational awareness and stuff like that, like, seems pretty good. Like, I was expecting you to kind of be dying from things that, you know, shouldn't be died to, or like you shouldn't die to, rather. One thing that I will say is, whenever you're solo queuing, just make the sacrifice of pushing with your team, because in a situation like this, you know, I've mentioned it recently in a few of my videos, but whenever you solo push like this, there's no ability for your teammates to refrag your life, you know, and, you know, you just died with all of your utility, and that was a very avoidable death if you just, you know, push with your team, right? Like, if you push with your team, you guys are going to be stronger in numbers, you guys have the ability to refrag more. You guys have the, you know, you have more pulled up utility in terms of, you know, dealing with problems that the defenders might give you with their utility. So you have more options and also a little bit more leeway, and it's a less stressed environment versus you just pushing by yourself, only relying on yourself to kind of take map control and all that good stuff. Like, you saw how well last round went by, you know, 3 of you pushing Office, the Nomad, the Hibana, and you guys ultimately won that round. So that's kind of what I mean by just pushing with your teammates. You know, you guys can drone each other in and, you know, whatever it is, right? But I understand that you might want to take office control, but I would argue that you usually always want to make the sacrifice of pushing with your teammates and making sure that, you know, nobody really solo pushes, and have a situation like this where, you know, you just get early picked like this just because you wanted to take office control. One thing that I do want to mention about the situation, though, is, you know, you mentioned in your VOD form when I was reading it that you wanted to learn how to play aggressive. And this is a situation where you might want to take that opportunity of playing aggressive because you have that option of, you know, knowing exactly where the Ella is. And you also have Zofia stuns and impacts. So if you really wanted to, I'm not telling you to do this. I'm just using this situation as an example of this Ella sitting in the corner. So you do have the option of kind of impacting the door. Wow, English is difficult. You could impact the door, Zofia stun into office, and then take the 1v1 there. Because you have solid info, and Coastline is a little bit more of a map where you should be seeing, I don't want to say be seeing more aggressive, but usually people play more aggressive because this map is more forgiving in a sense to the attackers in the aspect of being able to kind of frag out a little bit more and play more frag centered siege. That's usually why you don't really see a hard breacher all that much on this map. And that's why a lot of people either love or hate Coastline, is because it's such a rat heavy kind of, you know, let me just swing something monkey map. Like, it's very, you never really know what you're going to get from the enemy when you're playing Coastline. Let me put it that way. It's just kind of how Coastline has always been, especially, you know, recently in the past couple of years. It's just been known as kind of like this monkey frag heavy map kind of, you know, situation. But again, you know, I want to make it clear that I'm not saying you could have done this. I'm just using this situation as an example. If you do want to learn how to play more aggressive, you know, this is a situation where you could have made the decision of playing more aggressive by, you know, opening the door, shooting a Zofia stun, and kind of setting yourself up for the kill. So that was an option here because you had solid info, and she was also, you know, pretty much stuck in a corner or like a little piece of office. So you could have played this situation and approached it that way.
Located a bomb. Protect it.
So this is another example of, you know, when to play aggressive. So this is where, you know, I can comfortably say, at least in my shoes, in my opinion, we're 40 seconds into the round and it's already a 3v5. This is where you should be playing it more aggressive, looking for a pick, maybe 2 of them, so that way you can at least alleviate some of the pressure that you're going to be feeling, because if the attackers get 2 picks on a map like Coastline this early, they're going to be playing much more aggressive and also faster paced. So you need to be able to counter that and be ready for it at the bare minimum. So this is a situation where you should be actively kind of looking for a pick, maybe 2 of them, so that way you can set up you and your team a little bit better for the, you know, later into the round. Because if they are playing this aggressive, you better assume that they're going to be pushing Aqua pretty heavy here, because 2 of your teammates just died over there, right? Like someone died in Aqua and then someone died, I believe, in Billards. So you need to be ready for this. Someone just dropped blacktop. We're gonna be taking, yeah, we're gonna be taking
One's injured.
The sledge here, who I killed, he dropped the diffuser, and I didn't even see that. I didn't even notice that.
One cool
Or last stop
cool
standing.
wipe stairs. Cool wipe stairs.
Coming, behind.
and hookah. Alright, so a few things here. Let's go all the way back to the beginning of this 1v1.
Behind.
So when she starts, like, going in between hookah and vase, like, do you see how worried you are about that double door there that you just peeked? You don't need to worry about this door at all, because if she swings into it, there's a cap can on the door, right? Like, you see the cap can right here. So unless you hear this cap can get shot, or you see it gone, then you need to worry about this double door. But up until that point, you don't need to worry about it at all. Because if she swings into the door, not only is she going to trip the cap can, you know, possibly killing her, but she's going to be very low. Like, she's going to be like 1, maybe 2 shot, because she already got into a gunfight with the Wamai. So she's going to be pretty low to the point where, you know, you can like 1 or 2 shot her. But also, you need to make sure that you understand that when someone trips a cap can, there's going to be like a screen shake, but also kind of like an explosion effect. So you don't need to worry about this double door at all up until the point where this cap can might be destroyed. Another thing that I've been seeing a lot with you taking gunfights is your recoil control and your aim is just like jumpy. And again, I think it goes back to mouse grip. I really don't think it has to do with sensitivity, because you have control over your movements wherever you're looking, right? Like if we just look at a situation like this, like, you have control over your mouse, and you're not I don't want to say you're not over flicking, but you're just not, like, you have pretty decent control of your mouse. But when it comes to recoil control, I don't know if it's nerves or if it's, you know, maybe just the way that you're gripping your mouse, but there's something going on to where it's making your aim jumpy whenever you get to the point of, you know, shooting and having to control recoil. So I'm not sure what's going on there, but another thing that I see that's happening a lot throughout this VOD is you're lacking confidence. And that just goes to, like, you know, a situation like this again that we can use for an example of, you know, in this 1v1, I'm sure you feel the nerves. I'm sure you want to win the round, right? Like, you want to clutch up. Which, I mean, everyone in a clutch situation wants to win. But I think, again, you're putting too much pressure on yourself as a player. Like, you have high expectations of yourself, which is fine, but you're using those expectations for the wrong reason. If you have high expectations, that means that if you make a mistake, you are going to hold yourself accountable to the point where you will never make that mistake again. Or you can use your expectations of yourself and how high they are as motivation. It should never be something where something might happen to you or you might make a mistake in game. It should never have a negative effect on you. It should always have a positive one. And that, you know, that comes with learning from your mistakes or making sure that you're doing the right thing and you're making sure that you're holding yourself accountable for things that you might do that are wrong or whatever it is. But it should never have a negative effect on you. It should always be positive. And the way you make it positive is just by the way that you look at it and use it to your advantage. I think that's what's happening here with you, is you have these expectations and kind of this thought process of yourself as a player, but they're having more negative effects than positive ones. And one last little thing about this clutch situation is that you were playing a very passive angle on the rotate in the door. So if I can find a good frame of you holding the doorway. So here, like, look at all the possibilities this Ashe has, right? So if you hold an angle here, she is to the left of it currently, right? Like, she's somewhere over there peeking, you know, hookah rotate. If you hold through the rotate that she made with her Ashe charge, she now has to cross this angle in order to reach you. But since you played such a much more reserved angle, you gave her the ability to leave cool vibe rotate, hookah door, or her rotate herself that she made. And those are all going to vary in head height, especially when you're aiming kind of lower, so you're going to have to pre-aim back up and adjust to that. So there's a lot of different possibilities that the Ashe has in terms of distance of the gunfight that could really determine how the gunfight actually plays out. And if we go to when you die, we see exactly what I mean when I say that, of kind of the way that, you know, she exits. Like, you see how you're pre-aiming very low? And when she flies out of the hookah rotate here, like, you're pre-aiming like shoulder level, and you see the speed that she's also moving at. Like, she's moving out very fast because she's coming out closer. So she's moving pretty fast when she swings you. So you need to be able to have that ability to play a little bit more aggressive. I'm not saying, you know, hold all the way through the rotates, but just hold a little bit more of an aggressive angle to the point where you don't give the Ashe as much playroom to kind of push closer or further away from you, making her positioning and pre-aim more unpredictable.
There's colors. Oh my god.
So one thing that I talk about quite a bit in this VOD review series and also my coaching sessions is there's this recurring issue with players where they're never in a ready position. And what I mean by a ready position is, you know, having proper pre-aim, crosshair level, or pre-aim with your crosshair level, being ADS'd, just overall being ready to take a gunfight wherever the closest and immediate threat is going to be. And in that situation, it's going to be bottom cool vibes because, you know, they can't walk through hookah or vase without shooting a teammate, right? Like, in order for someone to walk through vase or hookah, they have to shoot the smoke and kill him before they reach you. So you need to understand that, look around. This is what I mean as well when I say look around, see where you can die, where are windows, where are doorways, where are kill holes, where can I die from an attacker, so that way I can be in a much more ready position and have the ability to take a gunfight if I ever need to. You always want to be in a better position than the enemy when it comes to positioning itself. You always want to have the advantage. And there are little things that you can do in a gunfight to make that easier for you. So having unpredictable positioning, maybe holding sort of an off angle, whatever it is, right? Like, there's a lot of different examples and things that you can do to help aid you with that. But when it comes to a situation like this, where the only thing that you should be worrying about is bottom cool vibes, and you weren't, that just means that you weren't in a ready position. So make sure that you're doing that whenever you're not doing something already. So if you're just sitting there on cool vibes doing nothing, not on cams, not doing anything, you need to be able to pre-aim that, be ready for the gunfight, because that's where your closest and most immediate threat is.
They tracked me. Oh yeah.
Op 4
You're making really simple mistakes here. Like, do you see how you're just looking at this wall for no reason? Like, I understand you go for a wall bang eventually, but this wall is no threat to you until it is open. They can't fight you unless you peek them or the wall is open. So that means there's no reason for you to worry about it, because you're sitting on the other side of the couch's wall, which is hard. Like, you can't shoot through this. So the only thing that you should worry about is jungle. This is the only area of the map that should be of concern to you. We just talked about it last round. Being in a ready position, understanding, looking around, where can I die from, and then assess that. And once you understand that, tackle that issue that you're having or that problem. Because you didn't do that here. Like, you made very unclear and uncut decisions. Like, it was a very loose decision that you made, and it ultimately costed you your life. You don't need to worry about anything behind you in Sunrise. You have the mud door that's barricaded. You have the mud window and the Sunrise window. That's all barricaded. You have audio cues there. You don't need to worry about that. You should maybe try to play around with your positioning a little bit, so that way it makes you a more unpredictable, because the jackal pings only ping whenever, you know, the little loop or the timer, you know, hits, and then it pings you, and then it does that again over and over until the jackal scan runs out. So you can play around with your positioning a little bit, change it up, you know, maybe go behind the Sunrise bar, have it ping you there, and then rotate back and forth or whatever. But you can make yourself unpredictable in your positioning. It's just it all depends on how you use something to your advantage. So just to kind of wrap up the VOD here a little bit. So the very first thing that you say in your list itself is how to win 1v1 situations. And it's not even the thing that you need to worry about winning those 1v1 situations. It's the thing that comes before the 1v1s. And it's being ready for it. You're not ready for those gunfights to happen. They just happen, and it's either you win them or you lose them. You're not doing things in your position and your power to make your chances of winning the gunfight go up. You're just allowing things to happen to you, and you're not countering them or fighting back. It's just kind of, oh, I'm just going to go with the flow with this. Like, no. Fuck that. Like, you need to do something in your power to help you with whatever it is you're struggling with throughout the round. When to play aggressive. We also touched on this in that clutch situation with the Ash. You know, this round here where, you know, you're playing Jackal and stuff like that, like, that's another situation where you can play aggressive, because you have two people in Sunrise. You have one, or so not two people in two people in Blue Bar, and then you have one in your jungle, which is the Jackal. So that might be a situation where you want to take a gunfight to alleviate some pressure. And then kind of, you know, you say how to get better aim. I don't think it's your aim. I think it's your mouse grip, to be honest with you. Like, again, and if it is your aim, then maybe slightly change your sensitivity a little bit, because I can't really see it being your sensitivity. Like, you have control over your movements. It's just that when it comes to recoil control, you get a little bit shaky, and it becomes kind of jumpy, so to speak, or wobbly with your aim and recoil, which I think might lead you to whiffing a little bit more shots. But like, an overall thing that wasn't really in this list that I think you're also doing is being hard on yourself, and that's also leading to you lacking confidence in situations. So kind of the things that I just went over throughout your list, and also you being too hard on yourself. You know, this happens with a lot of players, and even me myself, where I will always have the most and highest expectations of myself, so it's important for me to live up to them and surpass my expectations. But I don't allow those expectations, when I don't live up to them, to have a negative effect on me. It just makes me want to be better, whether it's with content creation or, you know, me as a player. Like, if I don't meet those expectations, I don't get upset with myself or whatever it is. It just means that I have to be better. And you're doing the opposite with that. You have expectations for yourself, as, you know, I feel like everyone does. And when you don't live up to them, it's having a negative effect more than a positive one. So that's my kind of overall kind of analysis of you as a player. I hope that helps you out. And if it helps any of you out, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. I would really appreciate it. As I said at the beginning of the video, 50% of you guys aren't subscribed. So if you guys enjoy my content, make sure you guys hit that sub button. And I also want to mention again before I go that I'm doing coaching. So if you guys are interested in a VOD review like this one here, or a coaching session, there's a link to the Patreon down below in the description, where you can find all of the info you need and more. And yes, I do coach console players. And I also want to mention that I have a second channel, so if you guys already enjoy my content and want to see more from me, there's a link to the second channel down below in the description, as well as a link to the Wichita Wolves, which I'm a content creator for, so make sure you guys go show them some love. But with all of that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, I hope you learned something new, and I will see you guys in the next video.